So the walls shall fall down. Glory be to God. Immediately when the good Lord gave me this, he brought to my attention, of course, the walls of Jericho. This is in Joshua chapter 6. Joshua would lead the Israelites out of the wilderness. They had wandered around in the wilderness for 40 years. Joshua was the chosen one to bring them out of this wilderness. Moses had passed on, so Joshua had taken their position. He would lead them out of the wilderness, glory be to God, until the land of Canaan, until their promised land, the land flowing with milk and honey. This is the same land that God promised Abraham that he would give to his descendants, the land of Canaan. And Jericho is a city in the land of Canaan. And it was the first city after crossing the Jordan that they was going to go in, conquer, and take over what the good Lord had blessed them with, had promised them. Glory be to God. So I'm going to start in chapter 6, right? I'm not going to read it all. I'm just going to, paraphrase. So the walls of Jericho, the first city they had to conquer. The Lord had given them instructions, right, to go in. 6 days they were to march around the city, the walls, one time, but on the 7th day they were to go around it 7 times. And after that, the people that he had going in, they would blow the horns, glory be to God, and the people would shout, and the walls would fall down, and they would go in and conquer the city. They would go in and conquer the city. So let me read some of this to you. It says, so it was when Joshua had spoken to the people that the 7 priests bearing the 7 trumpets of ram's horn before the Lord advanced and blew the trumpets, and the ark of the covenant of the Lord followed them. So, of course, if the Lord is telling them to go in, he's going to be in the midst. The ark of the covenant is where the Lord's presence was. There was the Lord's presence with the Israelites. Remember, that is what the Lord instructed Moses to tell the Israelites to build, so his presence could be within his people all while they were out there in the desert. So he was telling them to go in and get what he had promised them. Glory be to God. What he had promised them, and he was going to be right there in the midst of them. So this is a word for somebody. This is a word for somebody. After he instructed them to do what they did, it says, so the people shouted when the priest blew the trumpet. This is starting with verse 20. And it happened when the people heard the sound of the trumpet, and the people shouted with a great shout, that the wall fell down flat. Then the people went up into the city, every man straight before him, and they took the city. They went in and they conquered, and God gave them what he had promised them. So let's look at this context. The Israelites, the God's chosen people, the royal priesthood, the holy nation, was finally, glory be to God, coming out of the wilderness. They had been in the desert for so long, and finally the Lord was about to bring them out and give them what he had promised them. They may have not, glory be to God, from them wandering so long, they probably didn't believe that God was going to do what he had promised hundreds of years ago, that he was going to still fulfill that promise. Let's not forget, God is faithful. That's why I said this word is for somebody. It's for me too. We should never forget, I don't care how long we have been in that wilderness season, that wilderness time, that God is faithful, and whatever he promised, it's gonna come to pass. That's why I said, just look at the context. The walls shall fall. The walls shall fall. Pay attention, glory be to God. Listen to instruction, and you're going to walk into your promised land. Whatever you're coming up against, they had to go in, they had to take the city. The word said take the city. It said, and they took the city. So whatever you're coming up against, just know that God is there with you. His presence, that Ark of the Covenant was there with Joshua and the Israelites. It was there. Joshua led them in. This was all the doing of the Lord. In the previous verses, it already said that God had told them that he was going to give them the city. Let me read that. It said, hold on, let me find the verse. Yeah, here it is. Verses starting at 1, it says, Now Jericho was securely shut up because of the children of Israel. None went out and none came in. That was only talking about in chapter 5. It says the Amorites and the Canaanites. Once again, I don't know if I already said this, but they had heard what the good Lord had did for the children of Israel, how he had dried up the water for them to cross over. Then it says, See, I have given Jericho into your hand, its king and the mighty men of Valor. So God had already told them, just like he's promised us, what he's going to give us, what he's going to do for us and with us and through us. Glory be to God. He had already told them that. So the only thing they had to do was go in and do what they had to show up. They had to put in the effort. And that's the same thing with us. We're going to have to show up. We're going to have to put in the effort. Glory be to God. We're going to have to go we're going to have to go claim what God has promised us. Glory be to God. This is a word for you. This is a word for me. We have been out there in the wilderness season for so long, just wandering. Glory be to God. I hope and pray we're doing what we're supposed to do, because, a lot of them didn't do what they were supposed to do, and they died off in the wilderness. A whole lot of them. Matter of fact, the majority of them. I think it was only Caleb and Joshua from the original one that was brought out of Egypt were able to enter into Canaan, the promised land, the land flowing with milk and honey. So let's make sure while we're in the wilderness, we're doing what we're supposed to do. We're obeying we're obeying as much as possible. Sometimes I even get like, oh, okay, Lord, what do I do now? And I remember I was listening to a man on YouTube one day. His name is Darius Daniel. He's from Mississippi. And he said, if you don't know what to do, just keep doing the last thing God told you to do until he tell you to do something different. Glory be to God. So that's what I stand on right now. I keep doing what God told me to do the last time until he tells me to do something different. Let's just make sure while we're in our wilderness season, glory be to God, while we're in our waiting season, because there's also a waiting season, that we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. Glory be to God. So even if we have delay, remember, like I used to always hear people say this, a delay is not a denial. You just keep on doing what God told you to do. And you just keep on praying and waiting once again and waiting on that promise, because it's going to come to pass. God is faithful. God is faithful. So that's the word for today, people. The walls shall fall. Whatever you're coming up against, it ain't no match for the mighty hand of God. That Ark of the Covenant was with the children of Israel. He had promised, he had told them, they went in, he was right there in the midst of them, and they conquered, they claimed their possession, their inheritance. Glory be to God. They claimed it. And we, me, you, and everybody else, we got to do the same thing. We got to work for it, baby. We got to put in the effort. It's not just going to fall out of the sky in our lap. We're going to have to do the work. Glory be to God. We're going to have to stay in the presence of God. We're going to have to stay in alignment. We're going to have to continually pray for instruction to make sure we're heeding to the things that God is presenting before us. Glory be to God. And just like he was in the midst of them, he's going to be right there. His presence is going to be right there with us. Glory be to God. Right there with us. It's time for us to go in. We're crossing over, baby. We're crossing over every obstacle in our way. He's about to remove it. That Jordan water, he dried it up so they could cross over safely. Whatever comes our way, we ain't got to worry about it, because he's right there. He's going to dry the water up. He's going to clear the land so we can go in and take what he has promised us. Glory be to God. We walking in full authority, just as they did. We walking in full authority to what we know he has told us. He has shown us. Glory be to God. We're walking in our full authority. Don't worry about opposition. God got us. God got us. That's the word for today, people. The walls shall fall. Glory be to God. When God has spoken, glory be to God, that's the end, period. Okay? Like I always say, I always end with this note. If you don't know God, get to know God. Is your responsibility, no one else's. Getting you a good Bible-based church, but you got to know that word for yourself. Take time out, put in some efforts to spend some time in his presence. Pray. Prayer is needed all day, every day, about everything, every footstep, every choice, every decision. Pray about it. Ask God to give you discernment and wisdom. It is needed. All of that comes from him. All of that comes from him, people. Until next time, stay strong, blessed, and encouraged. I love you, but I could never love you as much as God the Father and the Lord Jesus Christ. People, the walls shall fall. God said so. This is a specific message for specific people. I heard that also. I heard specific. Glory be to God. I know it's for me too. Once again, we've been in the wilderness. We've been wandering. Glory be to God. We're in our waiting season. We're waiting on those promises to come to pass. But let's make sure we're doing what we're supposed to do while we're in the wilderness, while we're in the waiting season, while we're waiting on the mighty hand of God to move, because it will move in his time. And glory be to God. So until next time, people, I love you. Stay strong. Get in the word of God. Trust God. Have faith that everything he promised you will come to pass. God bless.